NDC to add
the EU.
What happened?
Well, as you understand it was together.
Okay.
It was the Bunkpurugu EU constituency until in the last 2 elections, it was splitted. Yes, so you are right, there is some spirit around
behind
the
it.
Because even now, when I'm introduced as the MP for Bunkpurugu, people are tempted to add the EU to it. It appears it sounds very nice.
Yes.
And appealing in the
no, I think we've heard it for years.
Yes.
Like we're used to hearing it.
That's right.
I don't remember for Bunkpurugu Yo-Yo. We are always hearing that. So to have it separated is another matter altogether. But welcome.
Thank you, Senna.
Honorable ABED-NEGO Bandim. Right. I hope I got that name right.
You did.
Yes. Thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. He is a member of the Communications Committee of Parliament. In fact, one of the things you have to know about him is that until 2021, since January, he was working with the National Communications Authority. So knows that entity quite well. So maybe the right person to speak to on these issues. Thank you for joining us once again. How is Parliament treating you?
Parliament, we are doing well. I mean, it's a call to duty to help build Mother Ghana. And I think that some expectations have been met. Others, well, we will live to see.
You still have hope?
Oh, yes, definitely. There's so much hope for Mother Ghana. So we will have to continue the fight.
And I'm wondering how it feels like new member, you just entered Parliament, and then you're confronted with this kind of economic conditions and situations in your constituency, because everybody in Accra is now complaining about how do we get by. So you're wondering how the rural areas are coping and how members of Parliament who are usually under pressure, even in the best of situations, are managing.
You're right, Senna. We are confronted with a very dire economic situation. No two ways about that. And it's taking a very heavy toll on the local folks, where 5 Ghana cities means a lot for somebody in a rural constituency. It is the same 5 Ghana cities that the NCA and the Minister for Communications, Madam Ursula Owusu, want them to pay to be able to use an app that they have introduced to register their SIM cards. Out of that 5 Ghana cities, a rural woman can get the salt from it. He will buy the pepper, go and grind the maize or millet to be able to prepare a meal for the family. And at this time, it is very tough. Visiting communities and seeing people really suffer. I can tell you this year that there are no fertilizers, okay? And fertilizer, a bag of 50 kilos fertilizer is now sold at 500 Ghana cedis, when last year it was about 90 Ghana cedis. So imagine the increase, and people have to buy. Meanwhile, salaries have not been increased that significantly. There has been an introduction of water tariffs, an increase in water tariffs and electricity, and these rural folks have to contend with that, and it's so disheartening. The rain patterns were not the best this year. So earlier I anticipated and that next year we are going to be confronted with famine seriously in this country. And this government, yes, that's what I think. In fact, the fertilizers, as I indicated, prices are high, and yet they were either fake or didn't really have the potency to work. When people bought them and applied, it didn't work. Yes, and these are affecting the rural folks. In the north, we produce maize, we produce yam, soya bean, and all of that. And if they are confronted with this now, then you can imagine what will happen next year.
I can just imagine. Well, this, like I said, if you're just joining us, I'm a member of Parliament for Bunkpurugu. Oh, that cannot go away. It's so difficult to avoid that anyway. Honorable Member of Parliament for Bunkpurugu is my guest in the studio this morning. And don't forget, we are live on Sekpele 104.3 Liquid to Dume, the voice from afar. Well, let's talk about this whole issue that has attracted your attention so much.
Yes.
The matter of SIM registration. I'm sure you have had several explanations from the Minister for Communications, but reading through some of the stories written about some of the things you've said, and in terms of some of the interviews you've granted, you don't seem convinced with a lot.
At all, I'm not, because Senna, let me take you through the history path.
Okay.
That, before the 1st of October 2021, we had done SIM card registration. The first SIM card registration was done in 2012.
Okay.
And before the 2012 registration took place, the NCA took time to engage with stakeholders in the industry and came out with a robust rollout strategy for the registration. So before then, Ghanaians were in tune. Ghanaians were ready to register their SIM cards. So you would realize that major stakeholders such as the Electoral Commission that controls the electoral register were engaged.
Okay.
They held meetings with the NIA officials. Meetings were held with drivers DVLA, you understand, and then also the passport office. The NCA even engaged the ISD, Information Service Department, to help out with the public relations activities so that every Ghanaian, irrespective of where you are, urban, semi-urban, and rural, will be aware of what they were doing and participate fully in getting their SIM cards registered. But fast forward, 1st October 2021, the ministry gave a directive that the NCA should re-register SIM cards. And in the previous registration exercise, the requirement for registration was the passport office, as I indicated, that they were consulted, the DVLA were consulted, and we needed to use their the driver's license, then the Electoral Commission voter ID, and the NIA card. So there were 5 requirements or national ID cards to be used to identify yourself at the registration center. But on the 1st of October 2021, the Minister for Communications decided to ignore all of the 4 other national cards, but decided to use the NIA card. In all of these, the NIA law is what the minister is relying on, which indicates that the NIA card shall be one of the cards to be used. The law does not say that the NIA card shall be the sole card. You understand?
One of them.
Yes, it said it shall be the principal card. So it means that there are other national cards that that can be used. So we thought that was wrong.
So the existing law makes the national identification card the principal.
The principal card.
But not the only one.
Not the only one. Okay. But the existing law we are talking about is the NIA LI. LI 2111. That says that the NIA card shall be the principal card, but not the sole card. You understand? But even before the 2012 registration exercise, there was a law passed, which is the LI 2006, purposely for the registration of SIM cards.
Okay.
You understand? That law is meant only for the registration of SIM cards. And in that law, it outlines all the 5 national ID cards that I've talked about, of which later on the Supreme Court outlawed the SNITs.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not the NHIS. The SNITs one. So we are left with 4. So the Ministry of Communication, ignoring the law that said to register SIM cards and depending on the NIA law, was a violation of that law that sets to register SIM cards. So we drew her attention at a meeting in NCA that when she first made the announcement, the minority side of the House drew her attention that there was already a law in place for the registration of SIM cards and that law could not be ignored. So we wanted a meeting with her to further discuss the issue, but the minister never turned up to these meetings. And as we speak, we are yet to meet with the minister. Meanwhile, she has gone ahead with the registration exercise, instructing the NCA to use the NIA card alone, and subsequently bringing out deadlines and rolling out punitive measures against innocent Ghanaians who cannot obtain the NIA card. The NIA themselves came to Parliament and indicated to us that they were facing challenges of which they could not register and print cards for millions of Ghanaians. Some of the challenges they told us were logistical. They didn't have the funding to be able to acquire new equipment in order to open more registration centers. They didn't have the capacity to employ more staff to be able to do the registration exercise. So therefore, they were having challenges in printing cards and challenges in getting people to work. And that was the reason why they were not able to print cards that has been registered as far back as 2018. Up to now, they have not been able to print those cards. So leaving millions of Ghanaians not able to obtain that card to be able to register their SIM cards. And yet the minister thinks that those people should be punished by having their SIM card blocked, such that they cannot make or receive calls. And we thought that was very bad for the minister to do. So I first called on the minister to the House of Parliament with my colleague, the Honourable Member for Timpani, Lydia Akamvalva, to ask the minister whether she will consider extending the deadline for the registration of SIM cards, because many people from our constituencies didn't have the NIA card. The minister said no. And it was so appalling that day on the floor of Parliament. If you saw her body language and and the way she said it, that it will not be extended today, it will not be extended tomorrow. We thought that was very bad for a minister to have spoken that way. It was she showed utmost disrespect to Ghanaians, and I thought the minister is to render services and not to be punishing people because she's put there as a government official to render service.
Well, so the very first issue you have raised is a matter of law, which says, you're saying there's an LI in place passed in 2006, which is LI 2000.
2011.
Okay.
and the LI is 2006. That is
Okay.
LI,
Okay, the LI was passed.
2006.
Okay, the LI was passed in 2011.
Yes,
But the LI is LI 2006.
that's right.
And that is supposed to cover SIM registration.
That is right. In that LI, spelled out the voter ID card,
Okay.
the passport, Ghana's passport, the NIA, and the driver's license,
Okay.
and of course the NHI, which was lodged.
So which means that on the face of it alone, the minister is even breaching the law.
That's right. That is a breach of Ghana's law that was passed by Parliament. And she's a parliamentarian. She's been in Parliament and served on the communications committees from day one when she stepped foot in Parliament. So for her, and she's a lawyer too, you see, and for her to look at the law and violate it in the manner that she's doing, it's abhorrent. It's something that we don't take kindly to. And we have drawn her attention severally. She wouldn't listen. So we had to, some of us had to go public, because we don't work that way.
Okay.
She should actually have consulted the Parliamentary Select Committee on Communications on these matters, but she never did. And when we got the opportunity where she mentioned the re-registration of SIM cards, we advised her and called for another meeting for us to continue with the discussion. That has not happened. And you see, Senna, if you look at the way the NCA and the minister are working, you realize that they are not consulting anybody.
Okay.
They are working alone. Even though they are dependent on their work, now depends on the work of the NIA. They are still not consulting with the NIA.
Okay.
As we speak, we don't know how many people have been registered in terms of district or regional basis.
Okay.
So as I sit as an MP, I don't know how many people have been registered,
in
my constituency
specifically.
And I have over 41,000 registered voters.
Okay.
You understand? And they can't tell me that. And what I know is that the only registration exercise or center in my constituency is the NIA district office.
Okay.
And the district is so vast that if you have to register, you will travel sometimes over 60 kilometers to be able to get to that office at this time.
There are some constituents of yours who have to travel about 60 kilometers to the
60 kilometers or over to
the nearest NIA office just to register.
Yeah, just to register. And imagine if somebody went there in 2018 to register and have still not gotten his or her card as of now. Imagine the number of times that the person would have commuted that 60 kilometers back and forth, chasing the card. I'll give you an instance where somebody was registered. The person is called Jerry.
Okay.
And he's Jerry, he spells it with double R. But the registration officer at the NIA office made a mistake and spelled it with one R. Then when the card was eventually printed, the person drew their attention that, look, this is not the way I spell my Jerry. The person was asked to pay 200 Ghana cedis in order for the name to be corrected and a new card printed for him. First of all, the person was not responsible for the spelling mistake of his name. Yet the NIA had to punish that person. These are local people. How much do they earn that they have to be commuting up and down, chasing for their cards? And they are the same people that Minister Ursula Owusu and the NCA are punishing by blocking their SIM cards. What crime have they committed? You see, so I am saying that it is a violation of the law and it is a violation of their constitutional rights to expression, because the Constitution gives us the right to speak out. And if I have the phone to speak, to express myself, and you are blocking my SIM card, then you are violating my human rights.
And that is where a lot of people feel disappointed when it comes to Parliament. We are hearing you talk, but if a minister is engaged in something that is blatantly in violation of the law, is Parliament saying that the representatives of the people have no powers at all? They can do nothing to that minister. She just continues to operate the way because this is a law passed by you.
Yes, Senator. The Parliament can do a lot, and currently we are on recess.
Okay.
We will be resuming, hopefully by 25th of next month, October.
Okay.
And we, from the minority side, will take issues with the minister and with the speaker. Minister Ursula Owusu has been very, excuse my language, if I may use the word, arrogant. She doesn't listen to anybody. In the industry, I have been in the communications industry for a very long time. She doesn't listen to anyone. She works alone and gives directives, and those directives must be carried out, else you are in trouble. That's the way she is. Remember this year's budget, when she appeared before the communications committee for her budget estimate to be taken, we from the minority side decided not to hear her. And if we refuse to hear her, then her budget estimate will not be considered, and therefore her annual budget will not be approved and monies will not be appropriated to her to work. So the NCA was in violation of not laying before Parliament their annual report for 5 years under Ursula Owusu. And when she appeared before us for her budget estimate to be considered, I objected and said that she had violated the law and therefore we're not going to do that. And I think other colleagues agreed. And we refused to hear her until she was able to produce some of the reports. This year, there will be the supplementary budget. We are waiting. If she refuses to listen to Ghanaians, if she continues to go the way she is going, I think we will advise ourselves, and we would, when she comes or appears before us for her budget estimates, that I will not talk much, but we are waiting for her. We will get her at all costs to sit down and listen to us and do the right thing.
But do you agree with the policy in itself, the decision to re-register SIM cards? Because I know when I walk to anywhere, the details of who I am, the person holding the SIM card, are clear. In fact, the evidence is when you are going to send mobile money, where they are able to tell who is sending the money, and when somebody tries to send to you too. So which means that there's a record as far as the mobile telecommunication companies are concerned. But do you think the re-registration was necessary?
Well, you see, you are talking about re-registration, whether it was necessary. I don't think so. We all recognize the need to register SIM cards. Okay. That everybody knows is very, very important in this country. And it is done everywhere in the world, that once you are given a SIM card, you should be identified with that SIM card. Okay. So such that maybe criminals cannot use it to commit crime. People cannot take advantage of others. So the decision to register SIM card is very, very significant in our national development. Mm-hmm. But the re-registration, as you are asking, was not necessary. Why? Because we had done that from 2012, and the various network operators have this database of their clients or their subscribers. Mm-hmm. So we could have just continued from there and probably wait, that whoever has now acquired the NIA card can go back to regularize his or her SIM card registration at the network operator.
They get their details updated
Yes,
with their NIA
that
card.
should have been the ideal thing to do. Just like the banking industry is doing. If you open a bank account with your voter ID card, and now the Bank of Ghana is saying that the NIA card shall be the only card to be used to transact business in the banking or in the financial industry. Once you obtain your card, you go to your bank and they will regularize it and you're good to go. They are not saying that if you don't bring your NIA card, we are going to block your bank accounts. That is not what the Bank of Ghana is saying. Because they recognize that not all Ghanaians have the NIA card. Yeah. So as and when you get your NIA card, you gently walk to the bank and they will change your details. They will capture that information for you. Why is Ursula Owusu not doing the same thing? Such that if you don't have the NIA card, you can use your voter ID card and re-register and register your SIM. And once you now get the NIA card, you can go back to your operator and they will just regularize it. Because from what we are hearing, it will take us about 2-3 years for every Ghanaian to get. And it's a continuous registration exercise for the NIA. Mm. But the fact that the NIA itself are facing challenges with the registration and printing of SIM cards should have been the reason why Ursula Owusu should not, and the NCA should not be implementing these draconian measures against Ghanaians. It's just unfair.
Well, if you just join us, 90 minutes past 9, and I have the Member of Parliament for Bunkpurugu in the studio with me. We're discussing this whole matter of a SIM card registration exercise. And, well, I know a lot of you have your own issues. There are several people who have come into town who actually live abroad. They have Ghanaian SIM cards that they use when they come into the country. Now, a lot of them who know that they are not able to come to Ghana before the deadline are asking me that we're going to lose our SIMs, among others. NIA recently came up and said there are about 2 million Ghanaians who we can register before your deadline. What do you expect of the minister in the wake of that announcement?
Yeah, the minister should be listening to the NIA. You see, when the NIA came to Parliament, clearly they told us that they were not working at the behest of any government organization or an individual. That's what they told us. So it was clear that the NIA was not working for the NCA or the minister. They are doing their legal mandate by registering people. And if you are sitting somewhere registering people's SIM card and you are relying on their card and you're not even talking to them because you don't know the number of people they have registered and issued cards, and you are relying on their card to ask everybody to use their card to register. I mean, what do you expect the NIA to do? They told us that they are not working at the behest of anybody. They are doing their work as the law mandates them to do. So I think the Ursula Owusu and the NCA should go back to the drawing board, sit with the NIA, get statistics from them. How many people have registered SIM cards? How many people have their cards, their NIA cards? How many have you issued with cards? So if they get the figures, they'll be able to advise themselves. Senna, I think these punitive measures came after we heard Dr. Ken Ashigwe of the Ghana Telecom Chamber indicate that when the minister announced to extend the registration exercise, queues from the various registration centers dropped. So they've thought that, well, so if people had the card and went to register And then now the minister announced the extension and they left. They are not willing to register their cards. But that is not the issue. We are talking about numbers that has the NIA card and those who don't have. Okay. So simply, the queues reduced at the various registration centers because it was a breather for them. You realize that towards the deadline, people were queuing because they had to ask for permission from work to go and queue to register. Businessmen and women had to leave their business to go and register. So when the minister announced an extension, of course, people needed to go back to work and then find a convenient day to go. It doesn't mean that when the extension was made, every Ghanaian had his NIA card. That is the issue. The issue is with the NIA card and not whether queues had reduced or not. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So for the NCA to have hurriedly roll out some punitive measures immediately was neither here nor there. I think that they got it all wrong. And I think NCA did a good job the last time we did SIM card registration. They should go back and do the needful. I remember in the 2012 registration exercise, there was a robust PR activities by the NCA.
Okay.
Every media house in this country had a jingle from NCA to play.
Okay.
You understand? And we had information service vans go around the various villages to do announcements. People knew what they were supposed to do. The NCA itself commissioned their staff to the communities to engage with the local churches, the mosques. They went to hold debates with the chiefs and people. They went to the market centers. They printed all kinds of brochures and posters just to inform the Ghanaian about their responsibility. So the entire country was with them. But in this case, you don't hear anything.
So you haven't had that PR campaign
at all,
trying to get people out?
No,
getting
not at
them
all.
To understand and go out to register?
Not at all. Since the reintroduction of the SIM card registration exercise, your station, have you had any engagement with NCA to play jingles for them? Has an official of NCA been here? At the time I was at NCA, we went around the country. We went to local FM stations. Mm-hmm. We spoke. We engaged the people. There were phone-in programs. People call where they didn't understand anything. They asked questions. We did debates. So everybody was in tune. So if you are able to do that, and knowing that every Ghanaian now has the NIA card, then you can set that deadlines. And when people are not able to meet those deadlines, then you can now talk about punitive measures. You see, the NCA missed something. Mm. What they miss is that punitive measures should not be the first to roll out.
You don't start with
punitive measures. You start to entice, to coerce, to convince, to try to let people understand why you're doing this.
Okay.
That is what you start, by giving motivation, incentives to people. It is when all of those measures have failed, then you can resort to punitive measures. But you start an exercise and start punishing people for reasons that are not their fault. What are you doing? For me, it's not services. It's not rendering services. But you're loading it on the people.
Some will also say the threats have worked, because at the end of the day, when you're getting close to a deadline, you see people rushing to get their SIM cards work.
That is true. I've heard people say that where Ghanaians like last minutes. Mm-hmm. They will always wait until last minute. But the fact of the matter is that you have made the NIA card the sole card for registration. The person doesn't have it, okay? And you are punishing the person. How is that tenable? Go and register your SIM card. then this is the requirement. I don't have it. Then you say, because I don't have it, I must be punished. What kind of law, what kind of policy is that? I think the NCA must just go back to the boardroom with stakeholders and begin a dialogue. You see, the telecos are not happy. But like I said, Ursula Owusu is bulldozing her way. They are all afraid. Nobody can talk.
Are you suggesting the minister is running a reign of terror?
I mean, that is what it seems like, because it's obvious. Because
that people are afraid of her?
Yeah, because she doesn't listen to anyone. Because I can't imagine that the NCA will take such orders knowing what pertains on the ground, knowing that, millions of Ghanaians don't have the NIA card. Yet they are following the minister's orders. I know the NCA very well. The NCA are full of professionals. They are internationally acclaimed professionals, engineers working at NCA. Look, the NCA is a professional body. The human resource there, you have no idea. I've been there before. They will not do what they are doing under normal circumstances. But of course, there is a powerful woman sitting up there who will do everything to have her way. She won't listen to anybody. So I sometimes sympathize with the National Communications Authority.
But how does this whole... because when you ask, why are we doing this? Why do we have to use only Ghana card? The answer you get is that we are trying to check fraud.
No, you see, how do you check fraud? Okay, so if you want to check fraud, and the Ghana passport, your Ghanaian passport, that entitles you to travel abroad, to the UK, to the US, cannot identify you. But only your Ghana card can identify you. It's unthinkable. You want to fight fraud with only Ghana card? You can fight fraud with even with passport, with driver's license, with voter ID card. The voter ID card, everybody has it. So now let me say this. I think that the government has an agenda.
An agenda?
Yes. Because if you tie this up with what is happening with what the Electoral Commission is trying to do with regards to also indicating that in the coming registration exercise, you will require only the Ghana card to be able to register those who have turned 18 years and above, who are not currently in the electoral register. You will need only the Ghana card. It's the same tangent that the Electoral Commission is towing, just like the NCA and then Ursula. So what is their motivation? When you know that that policy is going to disenfranchise millions of Ghanaians who have turned 18 and above, why would you do that? That, again, is an infringement on their fundamental human rights, the right to vote. Because if you look at the Constitution, Article 42, that opens up the functions of the Electoral Commission. It starts by saying that the Electoral Commission shall take steps to register all Ghanaians who are 18 years and above and are of sound mind to vote. So if my son or my daughter turns 18 years but doesn't have the Ghana card, so it means he cannot register to vote. You are denying his or her right to select a leader. It is in the Constitution, Article 42. So it means that you are infringing on their fundamental human rights.
Yeah, but they are also arguing that the ID card is what is supposed to be proof. One, of the fact that the person is Ghanaian.
Senna, please don't go
that
there.
The person
no.
is of age.
So if it is supposed, if you are using that one as the card to identify me, make it available for me. Why is it not there for me? Give it to me. And if I refuse to use it, then you can punish me. But you've not given it. You've not given it to me, and you are punishing me for not giving it to me. Is it my fault that I don't have?
NIE centers are open. You can go and register and get yourself a card.
How many NIE centers? I just told you, using my own constituency as an example. I have over 41,000 voters. I'm talking about even voters, not the entire population of my constituency. Only voters. And only one registration center, which is in Bunkpurugu. So imagine people living at Badalong, people living at Bombala, Nankbanduri, okay, Sambrook, have to travel over 65 kilometers to that place to register. And if they don't get it, it's not like people are refusing. People are trooping to their registration centers and they can't get cards. Just before we went on recess, do you know that when the deadline was approaching for the registration of SIM cards, there was a stampede at the national office of the NIA? And that was the very afternoon after the stampede, when the minister heard it. Then she went out to organize a press conference to announce the extension of the deadline for registration of SIM cards. What was that? Until people begin to die before you will listen? Is that what Ursula Owusu is saying? So until there was a stampede, she was not going to extend the registration exercise. I think that she must sit up. Because when they went around begging for people to try them and see, when Ursula Owusu, went on air to say that her 16-year-old child could rule the country better than what John Mahama was doing. And today, the communication sector, she cannot lead, and collapsing the industry. Before they took over, there were 5 buoyant network operators in this country. Today, how many of them are in operations? Glow cannot be found. Have you gone around? Have you seen Glow registering SIM cards? Where is Glow office? Where is their registration centers? Glow has gone under. Tigo Airtel were compelled under her leadership to be merged. As we speak, government has spent money on the merger of Airtel Tigo, the takeover of Airtel Tigo. We have been asking her in Parliament to come and render account. Tell us how much government has sunk. She has not been coming forth. Vodafone, we just read, are selling it because they can't manage it. So the only vibrant telecom now in operation is MTN. And under her leadership, she has sat down and allowed MTN to take over. There's no competition. There's no competition in the industry under her leadership. She's collapsing in the industry. And yet, she wants us to say what? So please, Ursula Owusu should come. She doesn't fear anyone, maybe except the president. And I think the president should act. She should begin to talk to her, to sit up.
Do you think there's a problem with the arrangements we have in place currently? Because, one, where you have a president who is not interested in perhaps our cries, and the fact that we've been asking, can't we do this differently? The president is not interested at all, that we are all at the whims and caprices of a minister. Where you have that kind of a situation, do you think the arrangements are not helpful? Because you, as representatives of the people, also the tools available to you are limited. And sometimes we hear you and we are like, these people are crying more than us. So can we do something about the arrangement? And the arrangements helpful?
What can we do? Look, Senator, to be honest with you, nothing can be done except when we go to the polls and change the government. Why do I say so?
But until then, somebody's SIM could be
disconnected
in September.
Yes, the one who is supposed to act is the president, and he's not acting. The president is sleeping on the job. Either he's sleeping, the president is clueless of what is going on in the country. First of all, he has refused to do a reshuffle of his cabinet since he took over in 2016. We still have the same agric minister whose watch we are seeing fertilizers smuggled out of the country to Burkina Faso, to Togo, and other places. The Minister of Agric is still there. The agric sector that is often described as the engine of growth for this country is collapsing. Yet the same agric minister will wake up when he sleeps and say that a tuber of plantain is sold at 5 Ghana cedis. Who's Ghana? Under Akufo-Addo. And the man is still in power. I just told you about how Ursula Owusu is collapsing the communication industry. Who can touch her? The president see nothing wrong with her work.
But should we
you know the economy, how Baumia and the current Minister of Finance, what's his name, Ken Oforiatta, have run down the economy. They criticize the NDC for borrowing. Now they have come and borrowed more than all government put together because they profit from the borrowing. And you know it, Senna. So which minister is working? Trade and Industry, Alan Tremonti, who wants to be president, when he has run down all our industries. What have they done? Talk about them. You see, and before the election 2016, there was the talk of we have the men, we have the men. Where are they? Which men? Akufo-Addo sat on a radio station and said we were sitting on money and yet we were suffering. It appears that when he came, the money we were sitting on just vanished, disappeared to thin air. He doesn't know where it is. This is the man who got so much revenue from taxes, who borrowed more than any other government and had COVID-19 funds in addition. Yet they have nothing to show in terms of development. Absolutely nothing to show in terms of development. How many schools have they built? How many hospitals have they built? How many roads? The Minister for Roads declared the year of roads. Every year he goes to Parliament to declare. The Finance Minister, in reading the budget, will declare the year of roads. Yet no roads have been built. So the problem is the head. Okay. Akufo-Addo is the problem because he can't act. He's impotent, right? Because he can't act. So when you put all of this together, then you see that Ghana they have taken us back over 10 years back because it will take us time to come out of this economic mess. Even in the new government that will take place in 2025, we'll have to struggle to come out, take us out of this. And then we now put us on a soundtrack, and then we can now move with our developmental agenda. So it's a dire situation now.
There's one other issue I wanted to point out to you, members of parliament, and I'm still on you. Because there's okay, so this is Kobla who says, so now ask him if Parliament cannot vote her out of office. Vote her out of office. I know there's a censure, a tool of censure you can use.
Yes.
There's one other tool which you use effectively. You used effectively the last time in order to get her to submit the NCA's report.
That's right.
That is holding on to her budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
You had that tool in 2021. You could have used that tool to force her to at least give it some time, because one of the questions people keep asking, why the rush? So why not using those tools to get her to perhaps roll out the policy in the manner that's reasonable and help Ghanaians?
Yeah, that is why I indicated earlier that is one of the tools available for us. Censorship, yes, Parliament can do it, which will require voting and a certain number of percentage. It's one option. The other option, as the the person indicated is to block her budget. We will not rush. We have served notice severally. When we resume, there will be the opportunity to further engage her. We will write to her to come and meet with the communications committee, and we'll take it from there. If there will be the need not for the committee to sit and hear her budget, we will do that, just to get her to do the right thing. Because if Akufo-Addo cannot act, we will help him act.
By the way, I just wanted to find out, to conclude on this particular issue, your constituents, they have also been registering for SIM cards. What are they telling you in terms of their experiences?
Well,
some of the descriptions you've given me was somebody to travel 60 kilometers just to come and register, and perhaps come another day, check if the card is in, another day, and they keep saying, go and come. How are they coping?
It's terrible. You can imagine some of the local communities have to wait for 1 week on a market day to be able to go to the market center to register a SIM card.
Wait?
Yes. Because in some of the communities, the market day comes once in a week. Do you understand that? So it's not like the telecos, the officials of telecos are available on daily basis for them to go to the centers and register. No, MTN doesn't have an office. Maybe in the district capital. And in some district capitals, MTN don't have offices. There are individuals, yes, they have contracted, who are maybe at the bigger communities. You understand? But in the interlands, in the villages, the person has to wait for a 1 week or every 4 days or every 3 days to be able to go to the market center where he can get a registration center to do the registration. So it is very, very difficult. Initially, when they started the registration of SIM cards, people were taking advantage and extorting monies from the local folks.
Taking advantage?
Yes, the people who went to register that MTN contracted to go and do the registration were demanding for 10 Ghana cedis, 5 Ghana cedis from the locals to register their SIM cards. I remember in my community where I come from, Nankpanduri, they had to chase some of them. I said, no, that is not what government is saying. That is not what MTN is saying. That is not what NCA is saying you should do. That the registration exercise is free. It's of no charge to anybody. And you see, I don't blame the people taking advantage to extort money from the locals before they register them, because NCA is not doing the needful. The NCA is not doing public education. Like I indicated, if they have done public education and people are aware that the registration was of no cost to them, they will not be taking advantage of the local people. So when they chased them, they went to another local community. And now it means that where they left, people could not now go and register their SIM cards. So I had to file an urgent question on the floor of Parliament to ask the minister what was going on. And the minister was not forthcoming. I filed the question. The minister only came after 3 months to answer the question, when she was served the question to come and answer. Imagine that time frame. A lot of things would have happened. So the minister and the NCA must just sit up. They are not doing us any good at all. They must sit up.
Well, Member of Parliament for Bunkpurugu is my guest today in the studio. His name is Honorable ABED-NEGO Bandim, joining us for a discussion. The other issue which you seem interested in is the matter of that affects everybody. Once you're a politician, even citizens, it affects everyone because of the new directive that if you want to register to vote, you need a Ghana card.
Zena, I have indicated earlier that again will not wash, because we in the minority have decided that we will not allow that to happen. Insofar as millions of Ghanaians will be denied the opportunity to have their names into the electoral roll, we will defend them every legal means possible to ensure that the Electoral Commission does the right thing. Because the Electoral Commission is governed by law. And as I indicated, the Constitution spells out the role of the Electoral Commission. And the Constitution says that ensure that any Ghanaian of sound mind and 18 and above years should be. So rather, you should be opening up to allow these people to enjoy their constitutional right. You should not be narrowing the path or the ways for them to get their names into the electoral roll. Okay. The Electoral Commission under Jean Mensa and Bosman Asare are doing the wrong thing. And we from the minority would do everything possible.
They're making it difficult for people to get onto the voters register.
Exactly. They are. And you see, apart from saying that the NIA card shall be the sole card for registration, they are also restricting registration centers. You see, when we are complaining that the NCA and don't have more registration centers for people to go, and it is creating problems and stampedes at the various we have this from the NCA as an example. We also have that from the NIA as an example. So instead of the EC, the Electoral Commission, learning from the bad experience of the NCA and the NIA, they are rather making it worse. Because they are saying that the district NIA offices shall be the only registration center for a new registrant. Imagine the chaos that will create.
The EC office.
The EC office. How people will troop in there to want to register. Who are these people who are going to serve as staff to register? Imagine the scenario I painted, that somebody travels over 60, 70 kilometers to the EC office, okay? And then he doesn't, because it's the first time, he doesn't know his polling station, he doesn't know where he's going to vote. Then somebody registered him and put him in a polling station somewhere that he doesn't even know. But it should be made accessible so that I live at this area, there is a polling station there, I walk there and register, and that is where I know I'm going to vote. Yeah. So, look, let's use Bunkpurugu Jinjo as an example. It was true before it was splitted. So if somebody from the Bunkpurugu side wakes up, travels 60 kilometers to the district office, registers, and they decide to put him in Jinjo, and he doesn't know. So on the day of the elections, he gets up, he wants to go and vote, and he's told that, oh, your polling station is in Jinjo. How does the person go to vote? So the EC is we don't know what they are planning, but there's something fishy about their activities
but
since Jean Mensa took place. Now, look at what the EC is trying to do. IPAC, which was a body constituted to advise the EC in its work, the EC have decided to ignore IPAC completely by using some measures. They are not saying they don't like IPAC, but they are not working with IPAC. They are just, doing some cosmetic shows around IPAC. For example, under Dr. Afarijan and Sarot Osei, the bigger political parties that had representation in Parliament were asked to bring 3 people at IPAC for discussions. So you will have the NPP bring 3 people, you have the NDC also bring 2 people. But Jean Mensa has turned it upside down. Rather, he's asking these bigger parties that has representation across the country in Parliament to bring only 1 person. And that's the minor political parties that don't have registration offices, that don't have representation in Parliament, rather are supposed to bring 3 people. How fair is that? And then they've asked civil society organizations to nominate 3 people on IPAC. Who are these civil society organizations? We don't know. Are they affiliates of the ruling party? We don't know. But who are they? Who determines their representation, their nominations? There are 1,001 civil society organizations in this country. So who determines who should be represented? He said 3. We have the IDD, the CDD, or whatever. So who would say that, okay, you are qualified, so bring your nomination? Are they affiliate of the ruling government? We don't know. Yet Jean Mensa thinks that she can go that way. We are saying that no. Look, in the last IPAC meeting, in fact, it's not even the last IPAC meeting. In August this year, the NDC received an invitation from the Electoral Commission to an IPAC meeting. And the NDC nominated Alhaji Hudu Yaya to represent and some other person. Later, the EC called Alhaji Hudu Yaya to say that they have postponed the meeting and a new date will be communicated to him. Up to now, that new date has not been constituted. No IPAC meeting has been held. Yet the EC is preparing to lay before Parliament a new constitutional instrument regarding this regarding the registration exercise and the next election. Who does that? So where is the consultation of IPAC in this matter?
It's 55 minutes past 9 now. Just one issue, because the Electoral Commission also says we are doing limited voter registration. What that means is that we are only registering people who are not already on the register. So new registrants. So the numbers are small. We are not expecting such huge numbers. So we can do it at the district offices. And then perhaps we can demand only the Ghana card. You are saying, and if, of course, the other thing they say is continuous registration. It's not as if they've set a deadline, maybe a short period of time. They will do it until they get closer to the elections when they decide that's okay.
No, but you see, you have to look at the citizenry, whether you are serving them. In serving the citizens, you don't burden them. Okay, you don't say that, well, I'm rendering services to you, so you must also go through this burden or that challenge and difficulty. We are asking, what is the challenge? All along, we have been registering people at the various voting centers. What has changed? We know that it is limited. People who have just turned 18 and above, yes. But how many of them have the Ghana card that you are using as the sole requirement to register?
So the issue comes with the Ghana card.
Yes, that is the fundamental issue.
What numbers they are working with.
Exactly. That is the fundamental issue. We should be able to tell how many have. All right. And then because if the person doesn't have, the person cannot register, and you would have denied the person the opportunity to vote, which you are violating his or her rights. So that is the fundamental issue. So whether it is SIM card registration or it is voter registration, it is the same. it all boils down to the Ghana card. Where is it? Let them make it available to us. First of all, let them fund the NIA to be able to acquire more equipment that can register. They have broken equipment. Have you heard about challenges at the centers where you place your fingers for your biometric to be taken and it is not capturing? Have you heard about broken printed machines that cannot print the ID cards instantly? All of this need to be replaced. Let them have money so they can buy new ones and give them money to be able to employ more people. And when they do that, then they will fast track the registration process. And if you're convinced that they have registered over 90% of Ghanaians, then you can come out with this and we will support you. But as it is now, for us, it is a no, 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 and we will challenge it using every legal means. If it means we have to pour out people onto the streets, we will do that. If it means we have to block the laying of that CI in Parliament, we will do that.
Honorable, thank you. Thank you very much for making time to join me this morning.
Thank you, Senator. Let me take this opportunity to greet my people, the Bunkpurugu people. I know many of them are listening to me through your through the decoders.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for the opportunity that they've given me to serve them. And I pray that we will continue to work together to move Ghana forward. I greet them all, the people of Bunkpurugu. Thank you so much, Sana.
Thank you. Thank you. He is Honorable Member of Parliament for Bunkpurugu, Honorable ABED-NEGO Bandim. Before we go, a couple of things. First of all, this morning, 80s Jam is what Ocham is presenting on the mid-morning show. And Bonnie M is in the spotlight. Bonnie M is in the spotlight on Ocham's show today. But let me remind you that if you're having difficulties with your vision, you're having persistent headaches, you're due for a new pair of glasses or lenses, then there's no